At the Senior Prime Life Enrichment Center in North Webster, Indiana, seniors come together to play cards, tell stories, and to share meals. Each week, 99-year-old John Schoolman stops in to visit with the other retirees. As the small man walks in, members take note of the colorful cane he uses. A woman compliments him on his creation and encourages him to read the poem burned on the stick. Afterwards, John sits down with his friends and takes turns looking at the patchwork of colors and words that cover the stick, which prompts several short conversations. This is a common occurrence, for each week John either makes a new cane or chooses one from his large stash. My presentation argues that John's art transcends the routine perceptions of a cane as a pedestrian tool and reconceives it as a portable communicative event, a tool for life review and social interaction. Not just walking aids, but communication aids, John's canes help alleviate his frustrations due to hearing loss and his inability to structure ideas as quickly as he once did. But John's rebirth as an artist began late in life. He enjoyed hiking with his wife Ada and often picked up walking sticks that he discarded after their walks. John and Ada owned a general store that they sold and retired to North Webster, where they spent their days gardening, fishing, and hiking. After Ada passed away, John began decorating the sticks that he used on his hikes. Making sticks helped fill the void left by his wife's death. John made a special stick to commemorate their life together, a stick that centered around the general store. Through its motifs and text, the cane helps John share aspects of his former life with others. The stick contextualizes a life story that the narrator could recontextualize in various social settings. Inscribed text and symbols represent the various facets of John and Ada's life together. A heart memorializes their love. An outline of Indiana with Bippus mark locates a remembered landscape. Text seared into the surface references aspects of a recalled life. The church where the couple worshipped, the fraternal order to which John belonged. Each element offers potential points of engagement between the artist and his audience, like a shiny mirror on a fishing lure that attracts a fish to a hook. The stick's color and shape draws attention. Then John is called upon to explain, which fulfills the cane's interactional function. John plays several roles in the construction and presentation of this cane. He's the maker who caringly crafted the piece, the poet who transformed memories into verse, the storyteller who animates the creation by reciting and explaining its inscriptions. John works alone at his home. In fact, one could say that he creates because he is alone. The stick is a vestige of his solo artistic activity that bridges his creative solitude with future interactions. He materially negotiates between his isolation and sociability through his creative process. Sticks fill John's home. However, while one can appreciate them as art, their interactional qualities are only complete in use. The general store cane is exceptional, not just because of its artfulness, but also its social and narrative functions. Each of John's pieces communicates an idea, elicits a story, or shares a short poem. But more importantly, the canes serve as catalysts for social connection and instruments for interpersonal communication. The canes create a space where the maker can connect with others. In 1998, John made his President's Cane, which lists the names and years of each president. Made during President Clinton's impeachment hearings, John inscribed the two prongs of the handle. One proclaims a Pledge of Allegiance. The other indicts Clinton with critical text spiraling around the long shaft. When asked why he made the canes, he explained, "The first thing was just to put them all on there. And then it came down to the last one, and I don't like him. To me, they did something drastic to the presidency of the United States. That's just the way I feel about it. I can't help it." Believing that Clinton disgraced the presidency, John made the cane to voice his outrage. Nevertheless, the red, white, and blue reminds his audience that the stick is intended to be patriotic, not a condemnation of the presidency, but a president. The responses to the stick were not always compliments of aesthetic approval. Just as the impeachment was divisive, the cane was partisan. He recalled, "I used it some, and then I put it away. I was in Fort Wayne once. The comments weren't bad, but they weren't favorable." Where the general store cane produced a context where John could share a story, the president's cane amplified the opinions of a man who had something to say to the world. The interactional uses of folk art among the elderly is a rich research field. I've worked with artists such as Marianne Sykes, whose narrative rugs illustrate the humorous struggles of a single mother in the 1950s and 60s in Chicago. Now in her 80s, she uses these rugs to share life stories with friends at the rug hooking club that meets near her new home in Chesterton, Indiana. There's also Gustav Potthoff, who paints his stories of surviving the death camps of Burma. Weekly, he volunteers at a local museum where he exhibits and narrates his art. Folklore should revive their study of the material behavior of the aged and how some make and deploy art to help combat the neglect and invisibility that often accompanies the aging process. John Schoolman passed away on May 21, 2009. He was 100 years old, and he stayed artistically active to the end. The sticks that John made were more than whimsical works of folk art. They were important memory and social projects that helped him through the aging process.